Well, the snow is almost gone, and so that means it's time to prune some hydrangeas, so that's what I'm doing today. So the time to prune your hydrangeas is late winter or early spring. I'm in southeastern Wisconsin, zone 5, so I'm probably a little bit later than a lot of other people are. But don't stress about this. It's not a small window. You can stretch this a little bit. As long as you don't have active leaf growth going on, you can prune. In any case, what you want to do is wait until you see leaf buds swelling on the stems. And that's the time to go at these. So the first thing you want to know about pruning your hydrangeas is don't stress about this. This is not a high stress situation. It's very hard to screw this up. If you have a hydrangea that was alive when you started this process, I can almost guarantee that you can do just about anything to it and it will be alive at the end of this process. So you're not going to kill it. So don't worry about it. These are extremely forgiving plants. So what you're going to need to prune is a hand pruner. A loppers comes in handy for bigger branches. Unfortunately, this is an anvil type pruner. I can't find my bypass pruner. So find your bypass pruner and use that if you need to. Or what I've been using more than that is actually a trimming saw. This is quite a substantial one. These are great. I'm actually starting to like these better than using the lopper. So get whatever you need, just make sure that you have something to cut bigger branches and something to cut the smaller ones. So this is a panicle hydrangea called Limelight. You're probably familiar with it because it's a very popular hydrangea because it's a great hydrangea. But most panicle hydrangeas are going to get pruned the same way. You want to take it down about 1/3 to 1/2, although I will tell you, you can take it down much farther and it will be okay because I've done that once. I once took this one down to probably 18 inches. It's amazing how much growth these put on in a season when they're in a place where they're happy, which is generally more sun than you might think.
Hey, sorry for the voiceover, but my mic cut out when I was making the video. I leave the flowers on my hydrangeas in winter just for great winter interest. But beyond just cutting those off, what you want to do when you're pruning is really take a look at the shape and get it into the shape that you are looking for. This is a personal decision. There's no real right or wrong here. So what you need to do is just take a look at it and see what you want to do with it. So when you're pruning, you want to prune back to a leaf bud. So if you look at my hand, that swelling over my middle finger, that's a new leaf bud coming there. And so that's what you're looking for, and you want to cut back to one of those so that you cut that, and right above that is where you make your cut. After that, you just start going for it.
So there's this branch that's kind of reaching from here all the way across, and I don't really want that. I want this side to grow out. So I'm actually gonna take out this big branch that's crossing all the way across. I'm gonna try that with my saw first, and hopefully that'll work. Now the next thing that is a concern is, do you see how these two are crossing through here? So these two are going to rub on each other, and that could cause disease. So what I need to do is decide what's going to go here. And I actually think for now, I'm going to take out this one. You know, keep in mind, things don't grow super fast on this. So if I don't like how that's working out next year, when I prune this next year, I can take that out. And I'm going to take this one out altogether because it's too close to this. And again, there's no right or wrong on this. This is up to you. So don't overthink it. Don't sweat it too much. If you don't like what you did, you get another shot next year. There's always time next year. This one is pretty big. We're going to take that out. So right here, there's two little branches that are definitely rubbing on each other. So one of those has to go, and it's going to be that one. And then the rest of these, I'll just prune down a bit so they're not sticking out. Okay, so that's all I'm gonna do. You know, the thing with pruning is sometimes you just have to know when to say when, and I often don't. I don't think I over pruned on this one, but I could stand here and start fidgeting with things for a long time. So that's pruning a panicle hydrangea, in particular limelight. Now the good news is that the rest of the ones we're gonna do are much easier. So this is Annabelle hydrangea. This is super easy. All you need to do is you can take this down all the way to the ground if you wanted to. But what most people do is leave a little bit of stem to provide some strength to those stems. If you take it all the way down, all of the growth is new. If you take it down to say maybe 18 inches or so, then you get a stiff stem from last year's growth with new growth coming out of it. So you get a little bit more stability, because one of the problems with Annabelle is that it tends to flop a little bit. So in order to counteract that, all you have to do is cut them down to pick your length. I'm gonna probably aim for like 18 inches or so, maybe a little lower than that, to offer a little bit of strength and try to help keep those blooms up off the ground. On this, when you're doing Annabelle, it's a good idea if you can to cut back to right above a leaf again. But I have seen people prune these with hedge pruners, and they obviously aren't worried about where they're cutting. So do it back to a leaf if you're doing it by hand. If you have a whole hedge of these and you need to take care of it, you know what? It'll figure itself out. So these three hydrangeas right here are all sort of Annabelle cousins. One of these is Invincible, Spirit, and I think there's two Incredibles. To be honest with you, I can't remember which is which right now because they all look the same when they're dormant, but it doesn't matter because they all get pruned the same way. So these are all sort of improved versions of Annabelle, so it's going to be the exact same treatment as what we just did with the Annabelle, which is just cutting them back to say 18 inches or so to provide a little bit of strength to those, to that new growth. And if you really wanted to, you could cut these all the way back on this as well. So that took like 5 minutes to cut those down, maybe not even. You know, the hardest part is just you have to come back and pick up all the branches. Now, if you're a better gardener than I am, you might actually have a wheelbarrow here and fill it up as you take things down, but that's not how I operate. Make a mess and clean it up later. Okay, there's one more kind of hydrangea we're just going to take a quick look at. So the last hydrangea I'm going to talk to you about pruning about today is Bobo hydrangea. Now this is another panicle like the limelight we did earlier, but this is a very low growing one. So you don't have to worry a lot about pruning this one up. You should at least though get the dead flowers off it, because those will stay on there for a long time, and if the new flowers come, it's going to be real hard to get those off. So at the very least, clean up the flowers. I actually had a lot of deer browsing on this year, so I'm going to go through. So there's a lot of really rough edges on this where they sort of ripped it. So I'm going to go through and just sort of prune everything back, maybe by a quarter. That would be as much as I'd probably take this one down, because I don't want it to be super stumpy. So that's all I have to do on this one. So that's all the hydrangea pruning I'm going to do today. I'm going to finish up on this Bobo, and then I'm done for the day after I do all that cleanup. But you know, the message here is don't overthink the pruning. It's not rocket science. There's a few decisions to be made on some of them, like with that limelight. The rest of them are basically like chop them down, more or less. So don't worry about it. Don't overthink it. Gardening's supposed to be fun. And you know, even this stuff can be fun, especially when you're dying to get outside. So you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching.